Welcome in to Club Dynasty. It's a different show.
Ooh.
I almost said no pun intended. No, this
I
is
was
Club
waiting
Dynasty.
for it. I was waiting for it.
I didn't write anything down, per usual. But this is Club Dynasty. Every 4 weeks here during the season, we are going to bring you a Dynasty-focused podcast. Myself, Josh, and Ryan always joining as, of course. And the first guest for Club Dynasty here is the one, the only, Tommy Garrett, friend of the show. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me on. Can't wait to ruin this from the start.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Here's the thing. If you set the bar this low, everyone else following can make the show only better. So honestly, it was a smart move because I just would have killed the momentum.
We knew it, Tommy. There's a method to our madness, brother.
That's right.
There really is.
Sure.
I promise you.
Without question.
Let's set the bar at rock bottom. If you missed, no pun intended, on Wednesday, Tommy's Scott Fishbowl team is going to finish 1600.
Wow, we're going there already.
Tommy finished second in Scott Fishbowl last year.
A devastating second.
I think his entire team is on IR currently.
Yeah.
Which is essentially the case. Thankfully, though, it's not Dynasty, it's Redraft, and that's what we're here to talk about, is Dynasty.
I'm literally pulling up my Scott Fishbowl team because you guys don't even fucking believe all that. Let's see here. Yeah, Drew Lock, Tyrod Taylor, Nick Chubb. You've got Chris McCaffrey, Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman, Judy missed out time. Yeah, it's bad. Wow. It's rough times out here.
Hey, Brian Hoyer might start Monday night for the Patriots, so snatch him up nice and quick.
Good.
Brian Hoyer. I can't wait for the battle of the third-string quarterbacks between Rippon and Brian Hoyer on Monday Night Football.
Start your defense and special teams, people.
Yes, on both sides.
Put them in your captain slot in DFS.
Oh my God.
Screw it.
Oh yeah, if they do the Patriots as a specific showdown game, 100% do that. But here's how this show is going to go down. So first we're looking at, it's obviously only been 4 weeks through the 2020 season. What we're going to do is who Josh, Ryan, and Tommy are looking at as a rising star, who they're starting to get nervous about, who are essentially turning into duds after the first 4 weeks. If you're a contending team, who should you start looking at or make a push for in terms of a player to possibly pick up to help you make that championship run? And if you're not doing so hot, then who are you potentially targeting for a future run to the playoffs and potentially a championship? So who are you trying to target with potentially some late round picks, or maybe trading some of your older veteran players that are on expiring contracts or older in age who are not going to actually, make it a little further down the line? Josh, go ahead.
Joe, before you continue on with everything, I first off want to give a big shout out to Faith, because after we did our whole Women of Fantasy event, she decided to send us and make these nice little Women of Fantasy football koozies. So I'm here drinking my Corona Seltzer right now. In
How
my
much
Women
is she
of
paying
Fantasy
you for this
koozie.
ad read around? Because it seems like publicity.
Zero. I'm all about this, and honestly, if we get enough demand, we have zero problem selling these and having some of the money, or most of it, honestly, going to the Women's Sports Foundation, which they're doing their big gala next Wednesday at 8:00, I believe. And our first guest on the Speakeasy, which was Faith's recurring show, Allison Ederer, one of the directors with the Women's Sports Foundation. So if you haven't, go check that out on our YouTube channel.
And follow us while you're there. Subscribe, or whatever the kids say.
I'm glad you're
Whatever's
so hip with it.
Hit us up on that talkie tick thingy and the face balls.
Talkie tick.
I like Faceballs. Can we rebrand Facebook to Faceballs?
Yeah, I'm cool with that one, honestly.
Facebook sucks. If we rebrand it to Faceballs, I might use it more. All right.
I'm sure that's a website, to be honest with you. I'm just not searching it.
Yeah, do not
Don't
go
Google
to faceballs.com.
Yeah, please don't. Don't
that.
Google Faceballs. Don't Google Stepmom Lauren.
Oh,
that's the two things that we have.
Don't Google Stepmom Lauren. That's
4 minutes, 28 seconds off the rails.
Honestly,
Yes.
I took the over, so I'm really happy right now.
I went to faceballs.com. No one owns the website. So.
Give it 15 minutes.
Yep.
Yep.
Hop on that, people. I'm sure it's pretty cheap. All right. Let's start here with some guys that everyone here is looking at, that you're rising on, that you're looking forward to in the future of Dynasty. So Tommy and Josh, you both put James Robinson, the rookie. No, it's not, I'm sorry. He's not a rookie. He's a second.
He is a rookie.
No, he's a rookie.
He's a rookie.
He is
He's
a
a
rookie.
rookie. Okay,
He
sorry,
was rookie
sorry.
undrafted.
State,
Yeah.
I
believe.
I was thinking of Divine Ozigbo, who is a second-year player but didn't play in year one, so that's my bad. And then Ryan, you're very high on Tyler Boyd. Let's start with Tyler Boyd, since Ryan, you're the only one focused in on him. I mean, does it just simply boil down to Joe Burrow loves throwing the football to him?
I mean, that's basically what my notes say. It's a high-volume target on a high-volume passing team. They're clearly happy to throw the ball. There's been a lot made out of how much Dallas has thrown the ball this year. But Burrow is at 177 attempts through 4 games. So that's, 44 attempts per game, which is just
pretty good,
an
right?
insane amount of volume. And I think Boyd's at 34 targets. So you're talking 20% market share. And that's actually low for him. He typically is a 20 to 25% market share guy. When you're in Dynasty, I play Dynasty a lot like Redraft, where I'm very focused on winning current championships, and I'm a little loose with my draft picks. But with this, you have a young Tyler Boyd with a young quarterback on just an overall young football team. It just screams everything that you want in a Dynasty player. It really reminds me of a Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp situation with he and T. Higgins. T. Higgins is seeing a lot of love right now, and he's going to be on a lot of people's buy list if you can get him off somebody as a rookie. Higgins is going to be the Kupp in that situation. Maybe not as much market share, but a lot of touchdown upside, whereas Boyd is just a PPR god at this point.
You bring up a good point about T. Higgins and going into this draft, and I mean, if we're looking at it for just strictly 2020, I had traded my second-round pick for Cortland Sutton, whom I would have taken T. Higgins in that exact same spot. So that kind of hurts for 2020. But you bring up a good point of Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods with that T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd comparison. I think it's a very good point. And look, just through 4 weeks, Burrow's getting his feet wet. He's still figuring out the NFL. He looks like a legit NFL quarterback. And
he looks like everything everyone was saying about him in the offseason, like actually coming true.
Correct. And I would say give it, a couple years. I mean, maybe he has a huge year 2 breakout, but I would say give it a couple years and you start talking about him being a top 10 NFL quarterback. It's going to be tough to crack that top 5 just because the amount of names that are still sitting up there in that conversation. But Burrow is definitely going to be there. So Cincinnati is going to start turning around, and Tyler Boyd and Joe Burrow and T. Higgins are going to be the centerpieces of that turnaround. Add in guys like Joe Mixon as well, Gio Bernard if he stays long enough.
Well, they just re-signed him last year, so he'll be there next 2 years at least. So
that tandem is continuing and just going to continue to give those that have rostered Joe Mixon headaches.
I mean, at this point, like all Cincinnati needs to do is just load up every single draft pick on offensive line.
100%.
Just give
offensive
Burrow
and
time.
defensive linemen. That's all they need.
Yeah, give Burrow time, create lanes for Joe Mixon, and give him time to be able to throw the ball to T. Higgins. And even if they can try to re-sign AJ Green for like another 1-year contract or something like that, because believe he's on the last year of his deal in this one. Like it's still worth it to keep that veteran presence around, like that rookie quarterback to help build them up, so you don't ruin their confidence, and end up with someone like a David Carr, who right now the 2020 version of that is Sam Darnold.
Exactly.
I think, Josh, when you bring up O-line and D-line, I think they need to target O-line and secondary.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing with their defensive line. Like you look at Dunlap and Atkins, like those guys are getting up there in age.
I mean, Dunlap and
Atkins, don't get me wrong, they're still good and they're still talented. But look
ancient.
what we're seeing right now with AJ Green. Like he looks like he's lost a step.
Yeah.
Like with some of these passes, like I'm, watching some of these earlier games and so many targets that he's seeing, which again is great because we want to see that, and the production will eventually come. But like when Burrow's putting these balls exactly where he needs to, where AJ Green is the only guy that can catch it, and Green is not getting there. It looks like it's an overthrow. Yeah, but I don't think that it is.
Yeah, to your credit, you said that after week 2 as well, when everybody was hyping up the AJ Green target share.
Yeah.
I want to give a lot of credit to Josh here. You said Burrow was putting that ball where only Green could catch it. It was essentially Green's fault that he wasn't catching it.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It looks like it's a bad throw, or it looks like it's an overthrow, and it's like,
it's not.
No, because 3-4 years ago, AJ Green catches that football, and it's not close.
Yeah, I think, you compare Dunlap, Atkins, and Green. Atkins has had injuries. Dunlap, not so much. Green has been off the field so much, and as a receiver, you need so much explosiveness to catch.
But here's
that
the thing,
football.
though, too, Joe. When you have a solid pass rush, it helps hide a bad/mediocre secondary.
Listen, they have Dunlap is ancient. I'm not going to lie about Dunlap. Dunlap and Hubbard have looked very good off the edges so far this season, and Hubbard's very young. I believe he's in his 3rd year. Their linebackers need a little bit of help. Josh Bynes isn't that great, but their safeties are great. Sean Williams and Jesse Bates are great. They need a lockdown corner in that division, and they don't have one. They need a lockdown corner.
I like William Jackson. I do. I think he's got talent, and he's got wheels. I don't know if he's a true, legit number one. I know his first year in the league, I believe he was out with an injury. So I think he's still kind of getting his feet wet in that instance. But
there was that story a few years ago. I think it was he and Antonio Brown, where he had held Antonio Brown to like the worst numbers of his career on the 2 games where he played him. And then he was like trash the next year. So it's like, you just don't know which version of William Jackson.
But you know what, though? That same thing has happened with Marshawn Lattimore. Like, he came out of the gate great his first year. His second year, not so great. Yeah. Last year kind of bounced back, and then this year he's back to kind of being mediocre. He's been very up and down.
I feel like they changed the rules on what corners can and can't get away with so much that sometimes
they do.
corners struggle.
You can't touch a wide receiver. Like, if you blow on him at this point, like, it's just you're getting a pass interference.
But before we get into Jay Postman 425 over here on YouTube, his question, real quick about DBs. And we'll see that Kyle Fuller hit that he gave to Keyshawn Vaughn last night.
That might be in my notes for our start shit show tomorrow.
The first thought I had was, if you throw a freaking flag on this play, I'm losing my ever-loving mind. Because that was literally like what you had with Tommy Mansky with fielding drills in baseball. That was the form tackle version they used to play for kids when they're coming up during like PAL football and whatever else.
It reminded me of the Sheldon Brown Reggie Bush hit from a few years back for Philly.
Yeah, when he was with the was that when he was still with the Eagles at that point?
Yeah,
that was disgusting.
They threw the flag and they picked it up, which I was happy that they did that. But
and then they called the fumble on that play, so they actually got it right twice.
That was a foul. They did exactly what they should have. They had it wrong on the field and they changed it. It was perfect.
That's the kind of hit for a rookie that it's going to change the way Keyshawn Vaughn plays already, and he already wasn't playing well, and that's going to rock his world right there. So
welcome to the league. Kyle Fuller just lit you up. All right. Jay Postman, we're getting to you over on YouTube here. So he's trying to trade for CMC. The owner is 0-4. So he was thinking Christian McCaffrey for J.K. Dobbins, Myles Gaskin, T.Y. Hilton, and Damian Harris. That is a buttload for Christian McCaffrey. He says he's not sure if it's a good offer or if it's too much. I will start here and say that, Jay, I am on the train that Christian McCaffrey is the best running back in the league 6 years down the road. So you trade for Christian McCaffrey. I don't care what you have to give away. And at this point, you're giving away an aging receiver and, 3 unproven guys. Harris will take over. Dobbins will take over. Gaskins may take over. Christian McCaffrey is going to get all the... I'm terrible at English. If you add up Dobbins, Gaskin, Hilton, and Damian Harris's best days, Christian McCaffrey's average day is better than all of them combined. You go for Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. I'll leave it open to anybody.
If you can ever acquire Christian McCaffrey in a dynasty league, you do whatever it takes to do that. Like, do you want to name my firstborn son, or do you just want to have him like all together? Like, you can have him at that point.
You can have my firstborn son.
Chalupa Batman, like from the league.
And it's you nailed it though when you're talking about like an aging T.Y. Hilton. Like, even if we think Damian Harris takes over, it's still a New England backfield. Like, it's always going to be a timeshare in that league. Then you have the Dolphins running back with Myles Gaskins. Yes, they are getting better, but they're still a little bit away. And then so you're looking
who
at
knows what they're going to draft
Dobbins.
a running back next year.
That's my biggest thing. Gaskins on our list.
We thought they were going to go into this year.
Yeah,
there's every chance they're going to look at someone like a Najee Harris, a Travis Etienne, Chuba Hubbard, You can grab one of those guys with Miami because don't forget, they also have, they're not going to use it, but they can load up with their first round pick and their second round pick. So they have both of those from the Houston Texans also coming up.
Yep.
So they can splurge.
Which seem like they're going to be early picks too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you think?
Like, the running back class is loaded. So if
again
Houston,
this year, yeah.
So is the wide receivers.
Exactly.
It's just as good as this year.
Think of this. So
and they need a wide receiver as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Preston Williams is not looking good right now.
Yeah, where is that?
if you think of this, right, you're sitting there as Miami. So let's just, let's say Houston gets a top 5 pick, because at this rate, that's where they're going, is top 5. Miami does not need a top 5 pick.
No,
they can trade back and gain a lot of draft capital and get a guy like, pick your poison between Hubbard, Harris, and ETN. Pick your poison. You want to go mid-first round, or you want to take him in the second round and gamble?
You grab him in the second, because I don't think anyone's going to take a running back in the first. Like, the NFL has kind of set that precedent after the Giants took Saquon Barkley. Like, running backs, like, unless you had this year, because Patrick Mahomes literally he wanted Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Like, I don't think you're going to see running backs going in the first round anymore.
Yeah,
and
correct.
We're splitting hairs when you're looking at ETN and all those other guys. Choose whoever you want to with your first pick in the second round at this point.
Yeah.
The one thing I'll throw out just to say his question, I don't think your offer is too much or not enough. I think it's a pretty solid offer. I think if the guy's 0-4, you might need to include a draft pick. Draft picks are the kind of sexy thing in Dynasty, so he's going to want to see something. Maybe you start with a second rounder. But as they've said, what you're offering is it's giving
definitely
that up
plenty. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And it doesn't hurt you.
When it comes to Dynasty trades, it's all about how does the other person view who you're offering as well.
That's the biggest point.
And somebody might be super high on Dobbins, which is great, because I think all of us can agree that he's got a bright future, especially after this year.
Yep.
Gaskin is a question mark. Harris also a question mark, but off to a good start, right? Because the way that Sony Michel's been running, it would not shock any of us if Bill Belichick moves on from Michel after this year.
I mean, Harris had all the hype in the preseason.
Exactly.
And if friend of the show Chris Molina is watching, T.Y. Hilton is a fantastic asset, and you should definitely look to acquire him in a dynasty league that you're in.
You kept a straight face for a long time. I'm honestly proud of you.
There might be a trade offer out there right now.
So,
Josh, I think you hit on the point that's perfect about that, though, is it's not how you value players. It's how the person you're trying to trade with values their players. Because you might think a guy is a first-round talent. If the person you're trying to trade with thinks they are nothing more than a mid-second, you're never going to get first-round talent out of them. And it's also, you have to know about what part of the calendar year that you're in. When are draft picks or players, where are they at their highest value? So if you can kind of try to focus when you're trying to make a trade based around like, hey, how does this person view that player? And then also at what point in the season are draft picks like at their highest or at their lowest, especially now when you're trying to talk with someone who is 0-4, they know they're going to need their draft capital coming up later on. So they're not going to try to trade that away. And they know they're going to need as much as they can possibly get, as well, especially when it comes to depth pieces, because it's good for them to get all these first round picks as possible. But if you don't have the talent to support them later on and build out a depth piece, then they're going to go nowhere. So I think this trade makes a lot of sense.
So I do want to add in, he says it's just a redraft league. It isn't a dynasty league. What you're trading doesn't matter. Get him.
Get Christian McCaffrey. I don't care.
Yeah, get Christian McCaffrey. You'll want him. Quickly to Noah's question over on YouTube. He's asking what we think about Khalif Raymond in a PPR. So quickly, discuss that this week, because no Corey Davis, no Adam Humphries, potentially no A.J. Brown.
Potentially no Tennessee.
Potentially no Tennessee.
No positive test this morning. Looking better. So.
That's true.
They went 3 days without positive tests, and then 4 more popped up.
I'm just giving the news. I'm doing my best, Joe. Okay,
that's true. So it is a PPR, and look, if it all goes as we're saying, Khalif Raymond slots in as the number 1 wide receiver in that offense. Mm-hmm. So just going into this week and not thinking dynasty, because I'm just going to go out on a limb here and say that none of us are high on him for dynasty.
I think if you're in a very deep dynasty league, he's a good roster guy, because again, you never know. I mean, Corey Davis is in the last year of his deal. They didn't pick up his 5th-year option. Mm-hmm. If they don't move on, or if they don't draft another wide receiver, which I believe they will, it may not be a first-round pick, but they probably will. Now he's got a clear path to starting opposite A.J. Brown.
And he is fast.
And exactly, he's a guy that really can get down the field. that can be a supportive in a spot start role, or God forbid, knock on wood, if COVID keeps being COVID and we deal with the same situation
and
next
Tennessee
year.
keeps
Honestly,
being.
I think we're at the new normal when it comes to COVID now.
It
I think
could
we
very
made it
well
3
be.
weeks.
Yeah,
We're
could very
now
well
at what
be.
we're going to deal with every week.
Yeah.
I feel like Tennessee skewed this a little bit though, because nobody else has more than 2 or 3 players, and Tennessee's at 23 personnel, including 13 players. I think it is. Like
The biggest thing about
they're
it is it
assholes.
showed that transmission is not coming from playing the game. Transmission is coming from a
Exactly.
complacency
Team
within
meetings.
the organization.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm looking at YouTube here. I love the interaction we got going on right now in the YouTube.
Dude, you
chat.
guys have
So-
you guys have the best viewers and listeners there are. Like
Thank you.
I never get more interaction when it comes to all the shows that I'm on than I do with you guys, and that's what makes it so much fun. Because as much as I like talking
Thanks,
to you guys,
Tommy.
I like talking to them probably just as much, if not more.
Oh, we like talking to
talking
them
to
way
them
better.
more.
Yeah, screw you. Screw you. We like the viewers way better.
Thank God, so I can just sit back
All
and
right.
drink now.
So quickly, because these are a lot of start sit questions. And guys, if you want to ask, we have start sit tomorrow as well at 11 a.m. Eastern over on Twitter, Periscope, and Facebook Live. So ask your questions there tomorrow as well if you have any more. But I want to fire off some quick ones here before we get into James Robinson.
If you have dynasty ones, especially right now, that's
Yes,
this is
please,
the time to ask
especially
them.
dynasty
absolutely.
ones.
If you got dynasty ones,
I just added this, especially on the YouTube chat. I'm going to try to answer any start sit questions in the chat right now, so that way we can kind of keep the train moving on Dynasty. But we're good.
Damn, we are
Yeah.
professional
So-
as fuck.
So here's what we're
Trying
gonna do.
to, you know?
No, I want no explanation.
Okay.
It is player A or player B or player C if there's more than
Let's do it.
2.
I'm so
Terry
nervous.
McLaurin or Robert Woods? Josh,
McLaurin.
Ryan,
McLaurin.
Tommy.
Woods.
Okay, McLaurin 3-on-1. I'm sorry. It was actually Cooper Kupp. McLaurin or Cooper Kupp. He changed it in a PPR for a flex. Josh,
I lied. Give me Cooper Cup.
Ryan,
I didn't lie. Give me Terry McLaurin.
Tommy.
Wood. Cooper Cup and Woods.
And Woods.
McLaurin for a floor. Cooper Kupp for a
Oh, you motherfucker. A or B.
I'll go McLaurin.
He's riding that fence so
I'll go McLaurin. From Nick over on YouTube, Hayden Hurst or Tyler Higbee in a for standard PPR, so 1 point PPR. Josh,
This week, Higbee.
Ryan,
Feels like a Higbee week.
Tommy,
Higby.
Higbee. I agree. XNFN, Amari Cooper, Cooper Kupp, or Terry McLaurin. Josh,
Cooper. There's no reason to bench him right now.
Ryan,
Amari Cooper.
Tommy.
As much as it kills me, Amari Cooper's so consistent. Never thought I'd say it.
It's painful to say start Amari Cooper because I'm also on the Cooper hate train. But yeah, Amari Cooper's a top 5 fantasy wide receiver right now. You start
And
Amari
speaking
Cooper
of
against-
Dallas.
Yeah. Ugh.
Oh no, we're still on our up players.
Yeah,
for
we're
Josh.
on on James
there.
Robinson. We haven't
That's
gotten
why I don't host.
we haven't gotten to the current wide receiver 6 in Dallas yet. We'll get to him in a second, but let's
Put him
start,
behind also Blake Jarwin at this point.
Yeah, literally. Let's start with James Robinson here. So the rookie who has progressively gotten better every single week.
Absolutely.
He seems like a target brand Maurice Jones-Drew at this point. Tiny, can catch the football, and he can also run through you, and his legs look like tree trunks.
Yeah.
So I'll start with Tommy here. I mean, are we just assuming that James Robinson is the future of the backfield in Jacksonville?
Absolutely. I think we honestly had that confirmation when they decided to do what they did with Leonard Fournette. I think they knew what they had on that team at that time. I mean, he's seen 74 of the 88 running back touches this in the backfield this season. He saw 4 or 5 of the targets last week. He is doing everything in that backfield they're asking him to do. And what's amazing is that they actually have someone else, like in a Laviska Shenault. If they want to bring someone else back there as a running back, they don't need to bring in anyone else in that scheme. They can run Laviska back there if they wanted to. I think James Robinson at this point is just one of the best guys you get. And you honestly stole him when it came to your rookie drafts this year, because he went unless you played in a deeper league, like where you actually guys that knew what they were doing. James Robinson, for the most part, probably went in the last round as a flyer. Exactly.
He went in the 5th round of our dynasty draft.
Oh, he was drafted? I didn't even know.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, Tim drafted him in the 5th round. Yeah, I was just like, okay. I mean, but you know what though? Like our benches aren't like super deep, and we do have a 5-round rookie draft. So
yeah,
at a certain point, like you're gonna start throwing darts at undrafted guys. It's just how it is. So, and you know what? Why not? Leonard Fournette, very uncertain future, and look what happened. He got released. So turns out, hey, worked out pretty well. What I love is the amount of value that he has gained in 4 weeks.
He went from undrafted. Right now, he's going to be going in like the 24 to 26 range if you do the startup draft right now.
And people are giving ones. And people are giving ones to get him
not only are people giving up first-round picks, they're giving up first-round picks plus players. And
okay, at that point, if you have Robinson, are you then getting rid of him? And are you flipping him?
I think for me, it would depend on where my team is. If I'm a contending team and I've got really good depth, screw it. I will sell him to the highest bidder. Zero issue with that. Because he's not ever going to have the type of value that he has right now.
So you're saying people are giving away James Robinson for first-round picks. So let's just throw this out there. Would you rather, knowing these guys haven't played
we're doing this already?
Yeah. Would you rather,
damn it,
knowing none of these guys have played a single down of NFL football, James Robinson or Travis Etienne? Just, we can all chime in at the same time because I'm pretty sure it's all unanimous.
Travis Etienne.
Oh, I love Etienne.
Would you rather Najee Harris or James Robinson?
Harris.
Would you rather Chuba Hubbard or James Robinson?
Chuba.
Those are all.
But here's the flip side to that, which I feel like until the actual NFL draft,
we need landing spots.
Landing spots. I mean, just look at.
I cannot stand when we ask these questions before. Landing spots.
Like it's one of those things where it's like, CEH. For most people, I don't want to say for everybody, but for most people, he was like 5th or 6th in the running back pecking order when it comes to just talent.
Yeah,
the moment he landed in Kansas City, boom, 101, right?
Not to mention DeAndre Swift on the flip side of that, landing in Detroit.
Tommy, 102. I'm with you. But
I'm still Jonathan Taylor is still my 101 in Dynasty.
CEH went 101. Every single one.
One thing I want to throw out about Robinson is we're putting a lot of stock in that Doug Marrone is back next year. They are 1-3 and have not been terribly successful since 2016 when Bortles got them to the playoffs. I don't know that Marrone has that job, and that could be a major thing on whether or not James Robinson is secure next year.
Well, isn't the offensive coordinator Jay Gruden as well, who loves to throw to the running backs in his offensive scheme? So if you bring in a new head coach, he's going to bring in his own new staff at the same time.
And that could kill a lot. And that's why I'm okay with moving him. But I agree with Josh. If you are on a contender, if you're 3-1 or 4-0, you do not move James Robinson right now.
Yeah, you keep him right now. All right. Now moving into guys we're starting to get a little nervous about. Josh, we'll start with your guy before we get into Tommy and Ryan's, because I know Josh, the guy that Tommy and Ryan have written down, is also on your shit list.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to hit on the other one for me, so I could have picked either one.
All right, fantastic.
Yep.
All right, so Kenyon
I'm just glad
Drake.
I thought the same way as smart people. So.
So who walked in the room?
Yeah. The guy everyone here is down on is Kenyon Drake. Josh, you say he's on a 1-year deal. He's nowhere close to the receiving work that we all had thought he was going to have. People were taking him to be a top 10 running back this year, and I don't know where he is, but he is nowhere near.
Same.
For the record, I said not to draft Kenyon Drake in the back half of the first round.
Well, good for you.
Yes, but this is why you host, Joe, because nobody listens to you.
They should.
Well, why don't you do this then? I'll host at this point. You don't want to hear a damn thing I have to say. I see all my teams right now.
Tommy, listen, right? Josh had Marquez Valdez-Scantling as an upside last week, and he never listened to me. I've been harking him that since last season, Marquez Valdez-Scantling is on Aaron Rodgers' shit list. When you're on Aaron Rodgers' shit list,
you don't get off it.
To him
8 times.
Yes, but Josh, he can't catch the damn football.
I'm gonna buy a bell to send you guys back to your corners so we can keep the show moving.
Not getting into this.
At this point, just play St. Brown, who's actually the worst St. Brown in his own freaking family.
Oh, listen.
Right?
Okay, Kenyon Drake, terrible. With or without Adam Gase. Josh, tell me why you're down on him.
I'm gonna start with this. This is how high I was on Kenyon Drake going into this.
This is gonna be a therapy session
for
me already.
In one of my dynasty leagues where I have Kenyon Drake and I'm rebuilding and whatever else. I was offered a trade to get Aaron Jones, but I had to give up Drake and a pick, and I turned it down.
Oh, wow!
Again,
we were all scared off about Aaron Jones because of
wow.
AJ Dillon's freaking quads.
It wasn't even. It was.
I was not.
No, this was before the actual
Wow.
NFL draft. Yeah,
That's almost
this was
like
before the NFL draft.
that's almost
and
like
I was
telling
like-
people to start Valdez Scantling last week. That's like almost as bad.
Okay. This is how high I was on Drake. Okay. And it wasn't even just looking at how he ended the year in Arizona. I've been high on this guy for the last 3 years. I'm like, finally, he's in a place that's going to utilize him. And we're finally going to see the Kenyon Drake and the potential, right?
Yeah, it was what RB5 over the last 8 games last year.
He was absolutely killing it.
I think he was RB. I think it was what RB4.
he was-
if you go, in the last couple games, like if you would have taken away his 3 touchdown performance, he still was scoring 18.6 fantasy points per game.
He
If you
was
just eliminate that out of it,
blowing up, absolutely killing it. And now this year, all he's getting is carries. The receiving work is like gone, and they're throwing it to Chase Edmonds. Exactly. And Chase Edmonds was hobbled a little bit towards the end of the year, dealing with an injury. And we saw the potential of Chase Edmonds in that offense.
Yeah, he had that 3 touchdown game.
Yeah.
too.
So then it
the
becomes, well, is it just like, is Arizona like the new Kansas City where you just plug in a running back and they explode? Well, now they're
not going that
utilizing
far
both
with
of them, and it's like, what the hell are we thinking here? So it's very difficult to look at Kenyon Drake with any sort of confidence. Like if you have Kenyon Drake and someone offers you a 2nd-round pick for him, I think I would take that right now.
Jump
I
in.
really
I'm not
would.
doing that.
I don't know that I would either. But on the flip side, I'm not going to derail Kenyon Drake talking bad about him. But this also says to me we might want to start acquiring Chase Edmonds, and I don't think he's
That's
on
the
our list
biggest
anywhere. But that's something that. Because if Drake does walk, my God, Edmonds next year is going to be a stud, or he'll be.
But now then we're dealing with the same situation where Benjamin becomes a Chase Edmonds.
Okay, so hold on. I drafted Benjamin, so I'm perfectly fine with that.
Hey, I did too.
But just I said this last year when David Johnson started. He literally peaked on Mount Everest and jumped off the top. Like that's what his fantasy.
First 5 weeks, he was RB6, I believe, something like that.
And
And
then
then he had a
he's
couple
out
weeks
for-
where he was like top 2.
Yeah, and then he's out for 1 week, and he goes down the tubes. I said last year that Cliff Kingsbury doesn't like big running backs. He wants short, quick, fast guys who can catch the football.
Benjamin.
Benjamin, Chase Edmonds, David Johnson 6'1". Kenyon Drake is 6'1". That is not the Cliff Kingsbury running back that we would expect.
Don't forget that David Johnson is also equivalent to DeAndre Hopkins and becomes a trade value.
That's true. No, it's 100% true. I just, like I said, I think, I think a lot of people had Benjamin as like a 3rd, 4th round talent. Like a lot of NFL analysts had him as a mid-round talent, but he went in the 7th round.
Yeah.
I
Didn't he have
mean,
a late injury or something?
He did.
Yeah.
I think it was a late injury or some off-field issue, maybe. I don't know what it was, but there's a reason he dropped that far. But
the thing
again,
is, too, it's like NFL, they want guys who they know are coached correctly. You're not going to find someone who is more coached correctly than someone coming from Herm Edwards right now who is coaching Arizona State.
correct.
Very good call.
I
think we all kind of discounted what everybody wanted to tell you DeAndre Hopkins wasn't going to see his volume, and then he did, and it looks like he's stealing it from Kenyon Drake. So
potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say that I was one that was like, oh, DeAndre Hopkins is going to have 150 targets. Like, he's going to explode in that offense. But I
think
also,
a lot of us tempered expectations on Hopkins after watching OBJ switch teams. And we were all like, all right, let's pump the brakes a little bit.
But
I mean, the value for Kenyon Drake last year, it was granted he had the rushing upside because he had those fantastic games, but it came from the passing. Like, he was on a 16 per game pace for 70 receptions. Right now, Chase Edmonds is on a 16 game pace for 68 receptions. He completely stole that role.
Yep.
Like he's 0.2 points in PPR behind Kenyon Drake, even though he's only played on 34% of the snaps, to where Kenyon Drake has played on 67%.
Yep.
Like if
Drake
someone
is
like,
RB35, Edmonds RB36. It's unreal.
Yeah, and he's won against Carolina, who was one of the worst run defenses. He's now going against the New York Jets, who is once again top 6 as far as teams you want to play a running back against.
Yep.
Like if I have Kenyon Drake right now, whenever he has his blow up game, which might be this week,
he's gonna be on the bench.
Trade
goodbye.
him
Yeah,
so
if you have
fast.
the balls to start him, go for it. But if once he has that blow up game, I'm sending him away.
Get rid of him.
I mean, it's like right now, like with Odell Beckham Jr. Like if I had Odell Beckham Jr., I would be trading him away after
Get
that
rid of him.
performance.
Get rid
Like
of him.
sell at the highest point.
Yep, absolutely. Get rid
This
of
is
him.
an offense that I've been beating the Browns offense for passing for so long that typically is 6 to 7 targets per game for a wide receiver. You're not going to see this every week out of Beckham. So,
Well, not just that, but just the rushing. Like that
Yeah.
rushing touchdown
Yeah.
itself, like you're not going to find. He had almost as many rushing yards in that one play as he has for his entire career. Like that's nuts. Let's look at the things that are not sustainable for 1,000, Alex. That'll be number 1 for double jeopardy.
From Odell Beckham torching the Dallas Cowboys secondary to Michael Gallup, who can't seem to figure out what football is this year. I mean, that's the other guy that everyone here is just incredibly down on. And
yes,
look, I had Gallup as the number 2 receiver in Dallas, but I had him behind CeeDee Lamb, who was the one. Michael Gallup right now, if we're ranking targets in terms of who they want to get involved in that Cowboys offense, Cooper, Zeke, CeeDee Lamb, Dalton Schultz, Cedric Wilson, Michael Gallup. Let me say it one more time.
Let's be fair. Wilson had one good game.
Josh, let me say
saw a lot of
Josh,
targets last game
people
too,
in the
though.
back.
Josh, let me say it one more time. Cedric Wilson had
God.
more yards, more touchdowns than Michael Gallup. Huh? Like, Dak Prescott has thrown for 1,700 yards, and Michael Gallup has accrued 250 of them? Are you kidding me?
I'm not great at math sometimes. Like I have to take my shoes and socks off so I can get to 20. That's not good though, right?
What the hell?
Just checking.
He's. Again, I'm just trying to do quick percentages off the top of my head. Like he's accounting for what 12% of their
1/6,
total
yeah.
passing yards.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like that's nothing. That's absolutely nothing. CeeDee Lamb has been more active, which I don't think any of us didn't think he wasn't going to be active in that offense. I think a lot of us expected him to be very active. I don't think
Honestly,
anyone
I thought CeeDee Lamb was going to cut into Amari Cooper more than Michael Gallup. Like for me, Michael Gallup was
Exactly.
going to be the fantasy wide receiver number 1 for the Dallas Cowboys, and it was going to be a fight between Gallup and Cooper for the 2.
So-
Holy shit, I was wrong.
Here's where my mistake happened was I thought they were going to move Cooper to the slot and not give it to CeeDee Lamb, to where I thought Gallup would be the outside guy, Cooper would be the slot guy, and Lamb would have to play second fiddle there. Instead, they've let Lamb have the slot, and Cooper is clearly going to outplay Gallup on the outside, and that just changed everything. So,
Well, and I brought this up on Wednesday. Gallup actually leads the team in routes run.
yeah.
And he's either just not getting open to where Dak's not looking his way, or he's just running these routes because why the hell not? We're just going to throw it to Cooper and Lamb anyway.
Well, and the thing is, it's easy to say Cooper and Lamb, but Dalton Schultz shouldn't be outplaying Michael Gallup. And that, I think, is the biggest concern.
Agreed.
Is I thought after 1 week when they lost Jarwin, because obviously they probably drew up a ton of shit for Jarwin.
Every
I
time
thought-
I see Dalton Schultz make a catch, I think that could have been like Jarwin.
That just breaks
We
my
all
heart
pour
every
one
time.
out for
Yeah.
Linda.
Pour one out for
Yeah,
Linda.
pouring
Yep.
out for Linda.
Yeah, no
But
kidding.
I just don't get how this is happening with Gallup. And if 50 targets per game isn't enough to make you a thing, what is? And a lot of times fantasy analysts try to shoot down too many mouths to feed. We are seeing the living personification of too many mouths to feed, because if 50 targets aren't getting it done, and the other thing is, I think we really discounted how bad Gallup's catch rate is, because I think he was a 50% guy last year,
Yeah, he
and
wasn't.
he's
I think
playing
it
as a
was
50% guy this year.
58.
He's 54.2 right now.
Yeah, you guys took the words right out of my mouth. But something I want to bring up that I'm looking at here on Pro Football Reference. The snap count for Michael Gallup has progressively gone down each week.
Well, that's this Cedric Wilson shit that I still don't understand.
But hold on, no. Because Cedric Wilson was in on 29% of the snaps in Week 3 against Seattle. He dropped to 22 in Week 4 against Cleveland. Gallup going back from Week 1 to Week 4, 96%, 91%, 85%, 82%.
So it's a slow dip.
It's a slow dip for Michael Gallup, and
that's after losing Jarwin. So.
And that's the.
You would still think 82% though in an offense that is throwing the ball this many damn times would result in some type of fantasy production.
Right?
Though.
What do you guys place the odds that Gallup is traded at the trade deadline?
I 100%
we're
think he's
seeing
traded.
Cedric Wilson right now really trying to move up the ladder.
They still have him on his 3rd-round rookie deal next year. They're not going to.
Well, I mean, I understand
we'll
that, but it's like you just paid Cooper $20 million a year. You spent a 1st-round pick on CeeDee Lamb. Cedric Wilson was drafted the same year. He was a 7th round.
You also had
No,
to
he
fill
wasn't.
for
He was
Dak
a year
Prescott
after.
in the offseason too.
Was he a year after? Okay, so he
2019,
actually has
yeah.
2 more years on his rookie deal.
I
So Gallup now is getting to a point where he's got next year and that's it. So they got to pay the guy.
I think
not
you
move
see him
him
go
in
in the
value?
offseason, but I don't think you see him go during this season, especially not in this
No, I think he'll
COVID
hold on to
year.
it for the year. Yeah. I think you made the great point, Ryan, about this being the COVID year. Like, you never know when you're going to lose someone. And right now, depth between fantasy and NFL, that's the point that I made an article earlier today. Like, it has never been at a higher premium because you're seeing teams in the NFL and also same thing for fantasy. The minute you lose someone, okay, who is the next man up and how viable are they as a starter? Like, there's some guys you just can't replace. But if it's that RB2, that wide receiver 2 on a team, if you don't have someone who can step in and fill those shoes, because much as I don't want to, Cedric Wilson did that, he's not going to do that every week. You need someone who's going to be a reliable asset to step in so your team doesn't miss a beat.
And that's one thing. I get so many DMs on Tuesday usually about trades. And if it's about a running back, I say, no, you don't trade running backs for wide receivers. Not this year do you trade running backs for wide receivers because you can go pick up Braxton fucking Berrios and have a wide receiver for 2 weeks, or me and Joe's guy that I'll be talking about tomorrow, Tim Patrick. Yep. We'll save that for the tomorrow show. Tune in because it'll be a lot.
I have been talking about Tim Patrick since back in April. I have been on that the entire time.
I picked up Tim Patrick for a playoff game like 2 years, like I think it was last year or 2 years ago when Emmanuel Sanders was hurt and Tim Patrick helped me win a game. Like
that's what I'm saying. Wide receivers everywhere on free agency right now.
Everywhere.
You do not trade running backs for wide receivers right now. It's the worst thing you can do.
Also why when you see a lot of times in waiver claims, like the priority goes to who's going to be that running back.
Dearness Johnson, 80%.
Exactly. And then you still have guys, like you're talking about with Tim Patrick or T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk. They're still sitting there on waivers right now, rarely rostered. That's because guys are going after that running back because you can't hardly find them. That's why you go into your dynasty draft. Running backs are the first ones to go. Like, it wouldn't be surprising me if you saw 11 of the first 12 picks in a dynasty draft go for running backs. Granted, they don't have as long of a shelf life, but they're at a premium.
But they're scarce.
Exactly.
Supply and demand, folks.
Absolutely.
Dearness Johnson plays a top 5 run defense this week in the NFL.
Do not.
Yeah, and it's 2020. Nothing fucking makes sense.
That's true.
Listen, I'm just.
To be fair, Darius Leonard's out. That's going to hurt them.
Okay, hold on.
They are, but I'm going Kareem Hunt.
I want to bring up Kevin Tompkins' point on YouTube about Darnell Mooney, because I believe I saw a friend of the show, Sam Wallace, tweet about Darnell Mooney. I started Darnell Mooney in a DFS lineup because he was super damn cheap. And he brings up a great point. If Foles didn't throw that ball, that was the worst throw I've ever seen of an NFL quarterback ever.
Which is saying something when Trubisky is on that team.
It's unbelievable. Mooney put Carlton Davis on skates. That was a gorgeous, gorgeous deep corner route. And Foles missed him by 15 yards on an underthrow. Mooney looks
Robinson
really...
a 5-yard out.
Yeah. Mooney looks
like the way
good.
that Foles threw that football, it makes me think that he was expecting Mooney to go one way, and Mooney was like, no, the route goes this way, not across the field.
It was almost like it was an option route, essentially.
Yeah. My only thing about that is, though, and I agree, Mooney has, and he's had more good games than just this week, and this week wasn't great, but they're not going to have a quarterback. It's Foles or Trubisky. So we can talk about the hypothetical of what Mooney is. He's still stuck in that offense.
But if he's going to get more targets than Anthony Miller, I have to pay attention to that, even if they're by a quarterback.
Oh, absolutely. And can we talk about Jimmy Graham? I know Joe doesn't want to, but holy shit,
listen.
homeboy looks like he was
in my notes for tomorrow too.
Listen. I haven't had Graham on my team in 4 years. So I'm starting to wear off on the Jimmy Graham hate at this point. Because this year people didn't draft him as like a top 10 tight end as they have been the last few years.
Correct.
No, yeah.
So I was like, okay, I can.
Yeah, he's on waivers. You can get him.
Yeah. I can bounce off, the Jimmy Graham train. That catch, I sat there and said, how'd he catch that? Because I'm like, the defender's in perfect position. How'd he catch that? And Maggie is sitting next to me, and she's a Bears fan. And she just sat there and said, Jimmy Graham caught that with his bear claw. And she kept poking me like, get it? Because Bears?
I like that, though, to be honest.
Yeah,
I'm in on that.
Like,
that was straight up vintage New Orleans Saints Jimmy Graham.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Jimmy Graham looks good. Jimmy Graham looks good.
Is he leading the league in red zone targets?
He's got to be.
That's one thing I want to throw out for Gallup. I talked about this on Wednesday. Gallup has 0 red zone targets on the season right now.
Oh,
because Michael Gallup is garbage right now.
But I will look that up for you, Tommy.
I know he's up there.
So
among tight ends, he's leading. Yes, he has 10. Next closest has 7.
Is that 7 Robert Tonyan because he absolutely decimated your team in Dynasty last week, Josh?
Oh, shut up.
Or
top wide receiver.
Top
wide receiver only has 8. Yep. So he
Really?
So yeah, Jimmy Graham is leading the league in red zone targets.
I mean, that's why for the life of me, I never understood why Seattle didn't use him more in the red zone. He just seemed to
He had that one good year where his touchdown spiked.
That's your one question about Seattle, not like when they threw the ball in the red zone, like on the 1 yard line.
Tommy.
Like, come on now.
Tommy,
we've had questions about Pete Carroll's decision making for freaking years.
Tommy, everything Pete Carroll does needs to have a question mark.
If he had thrown that ball to Jimmy Graham, it would have been a touchdown.
Everything Pete Carroll does has a question mark at the end of it.
But you know what, though? He's letting Russ cook this year, and that's all.
I'm happy
cool
about that.
I'm cool
so
with it.
cool with that.
Happy about that. All right.
Like, for once, Russell Wilson is finally going to get an MVP vote.
At the very minimum.
How he's never had one yet.
Yeah. At the very minimum, he's getting at least one, and probably
if he keeps this up, he's winning it just out of sympathy at this point.
Yeah, I think so. And don't get me wrong, Josh Allen has looked really good.
And you're starting a franchise. There's a very short list of people I'm putting ahead of Russell Wilson on who my first pick's going to be.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, so I'm going to skip these contending teams and season didn't start so hot because we are 47 minutes in, and Tommy, your overbet's going to hit.
You act like we had anything else to do.
Yeah, no, I know.
Like, what are you talking about?
We still need to keep this under 75 minutes, okay?
Yeah.
It's still coronavirus season. No one's still swiping right. Like, no one's afraid to go out to the bar right now. Like, I ain't got shit to do. I got a fridge full of beer. Like, I'm gonna hang out with you guys.
I have a
I should have brought more than just
water.
2 to sit next to me. So
Did you not see me using a pair of scissors trying to open up the one that I had?
I saw. I was keying in. Don't worry. All right. So right now, this is a give us where you'd rank these guys, essentially, going forward in Dynasty. So we're looking at, whether it be some older name guys, some younger guys, and where they're currently ranked right now in terms of points per game at their position.
No, not points per game, total points.
Total points. Thank you. Sorry, Ryan. Thank you for the correction. All right. So we talked about James Robinson. And we talked about if you have him and you're not a contending team, trade him for a first-round pick because that's kind of what he's going for. If you are a contending team, hold on to him. And I think that's what we believe here.
I think even if I was a contending team, I would consider trading him if I had the depth.
Yeah, depending on your running back depth, I think
if
that's
you can
very
absorb
true.
it, yeah, I would see what it takes to do what you have to do with James Robinson.
I think that's very true.
But be careful about trading him to another contender.
Very true.
Don't like someone better, yeah. But if I can pick up James Robinson for like a high-end second-round pick,
oh, yeah.
I'd think about that one.
So I'm gonna pick some names out of this bunch here that I'm looking at, and I'll read off the names here. James Robinson's currently RB6 on the season. Devin Singletary is RB17. Gibson is 18. Antonio Gibson. Todd Gurley is 19. Ronald Jones is 24.
That was before Thursday.
That was before Thursday. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Myles Gaskin is 26. Darrell Henderson is 29. Kenyon Drake is 35. Those are your running backs, and that's where we'll start right here before we get into the receivers. One guy I'm interested in because he seemed to be making a good third-year leap is Ronald Jones. He looked unbelievably explosive in that Thursday night football game. Like, I was shocked watching him run the football. If you are someone that is sitting there, 2-2, you're teetering on whether to throw the year and maybe get a high draft pick or really try and contend and maybe trade for a winner, and you have Ronald Jones on your team, would you consider getting rid of him for maybe a second-round pick? Maybe you could swing like a late first, because at this point, I mean, Jones seems to be making a third-year leap right now.
The problem for me, and my first note was, it's harder to trust Arians than it is to trust Rojo. I don't have an issue necessarily with Rojo, and he was a guy I picked up in a rookie draft when he first came out. But they brought in Fournette, and I think that's just a one-year deal. They drafted Keyshawn Vaughn. They brought in Shady. It's Arians that's my problem. So I value him at an RB2. I don't think I would move him for a second, but if someone's offering me a 1 for Rojo, I'll take that deal all day long.
Yeah, easily. I'm trying to think of like what I would be looking at as far as like the rookie class that would be coming up. Like this rookie class, even if you go like into the late seconds, like it's going to be as deep as this class was too. I mean, we've already talked about 4 different running backs,
because this class was about what 14 picks deep, 14 or 15.
At
where
least.
you knew,
and that's taking the quarterbacks out of the equation.
Yeah.
I mean, if I can get like that early second round pick for Rojo, I would do it.
Yeah, I think I would too. I mean, my biggest knock with Rojo, like when he was coming out, I wasn't as high on him. He had back-to-back great years at USC, great straight line speed, great burst. I just didn't see a lot of wiggle, and I didn't think the vision was all that good. And the receiving numbers really weren't there. But when you get that guy in space, he's gone.
Yeah.
Now we're starting to see, all right, that vision is there. We're starting to see that he's hitting holes and he's hitting them hard.
Yes, the one thing I do want to preface by saying what I would take for him.
He looks out of position every single time that ball is near him in the receiving game.
The one thing I do want to preface on is that I'm not saying I would take a second for him right now. It would have to be a first for Rojo right now. But as the season came on and I saw how teams were shaking up, then I would look at that early second. But right now, I would not do anything other than a first round pick for Rojo.
I agree.
Like, so I just want to make sure that was clear.
Yeah. I think for me, when you're looking at rankings and Dynasty going forward, I think he's kind of in that low to mid RB2 range.
RB2. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. That's kind of where I would put
exactly what my notes say. So we're all on the same
agree.
page there.
I do want to bring up the point, talking about how deep the next class coming in is and how deep this class was. I'm going to read you off the first 20 picks in our Club Fantasy Dynasty League. This is how loaded the class was. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, CeeDee Lamb, Cam Akers, Jerry Jeudy, Justin Jefferson, Jalen Reagor, Henry Ruggs. That's round 1. Round 2, Keyshawn Vaughn, Michael Pittman, Denzel Mims, skipping over Burrow and Tua, T. Higgins, Zach Moss, A.J. Dillon, Brandon Ayuk, Laviska Shenault. Dipping into the 3rd round, Joshua Kelly, Antonio Gibson, Brian Edwards, Chase Claypool. You want to go into the 4th? Van Jefferson, James Robinson. You want to dip into the 5th? Tyler Johnson, KJ Hamler, Gabriel Davis, Darnell Mooney, Quintez Cephas.
Yeah.
Loaded.
Absolutely loaded class.
The start of next year, Jamar Chase, Rashad Bateman, Travis Etienne, Rondell Moore, Chuba Hubbard, Najee Harris, Seth Williams, Jalen Waddle, Devonta Smith, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Tamorrion Terry, Tillian Wallace, Journey Brown, throwing guys like Kenneth Gainwell. We haven't even got to the quarterbacks with Trevor Lawrence and Justin
or the tight
Fields.
ends.
Tight ends with Kyle Pitts, Pat Freiermuth.
Loaded tight end class too.
Oh,
but don't draft rookie tight ends because they don't do shit for years.
I agree. They don't. I think there's a couple this class that could. You look at Kyle Pitts. I
just want to throw something really quick out for our listeners. I do not watch college football.
Same.
I'm a bigger college fan than I am NFL.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you the Michigan hat on. I wasn't positive about that.
Yeah, I've got Steelers stuff behind me, so there's that too.
Yeah, you could see 3, maybe even 4 tight ends go in the first round of the NFL draft this year. Like, it is a deep tight end class.
It is. Okay, who's the other one? Bold. It's not the Miami, Florida receiver. Is tight end? Is it? I'm trying to think of. Yeah, that's it. Brevin.
I love that kid. Yep. Love him.
Everyone Kyle Pitts is stealing the show, and then once the Big Ten comes back,
getting near the publicity that Kyle Pitts is because, and I haven't seen as many Florida games, but Miami's running back trio right now is absolutely dominating. So they haven't needed to throw the football to Jordan the same way that Florida needs to throw to Pitts.
I think part of that is the development of Kyle Trask. If Trask wasn't playing so well, you wouldn't see what you're seeing out of Kyle Pitts. But wait for the Big Ten to all of a sudden kick off, and then we're going to see the Pat Freiermuth love kick back into effect. Because at the end of the last year, that was a 1A, 1B where a lot of people were looking at him. So I would expect when we come into later on into the season, the Freiermuth love will start to kick off. And you'll start to see that being talked about a lot more coming up at the end of the season, into bowl season, into the combine, things like that. I think there's going to be a debate, but I will still give the lean to Kyle Pitts.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I mean, production over everything. I mean, that always shines.
I just want to bring up, we're debating why a player from Florida is getting more publicity than a player from the University of Miami. It's very simple. Florida plays in a real college football division, and Miami plays in the ACC where it's Clemson
you know
and no
what?
one else.
Saturday night, Miami plays Clemson. Miami's going to be on that big stage, and you're going to see they're actually for real this year.
And I'm going to watch Clemson destroy them.
They're going to get
They probably will, too.
They're going to get smacked.
They probably will, too.
Yeah, they're close.
Their defense looks hungry this year, and they're doing it without Russo, who is arguably the best defensive end in the country.
Clemson by 20.
Clemson's like a tractor, and you guys are like a little acorn on the ground. That's essentially the difference.
How did you put tractor and acorn together?
Doesn't watch college football,
or apparently tractors.
Who's using a tractor to harvest acorns?
Listen,
that's a tree, Joe. You keep those away from tractors.
Listen, I was thinking of a big object that rolls over things, a tractor, and then I was thinking of something small. Acorn was the first thing that popped into my head.
Jesus, man.
Listen.
I mean, I get
there
it.
Goes our farmer
going a 90-mile fucking circle to get back to this point.
That's fine. I got you to the destination. That's all that matters.
You did get me there, I'll be honest, though.
As long as I get you there,
it was an expensive Uber trip, but you got me to where I was going.
I needed the money. What can I say? I needed the money. But
by the way, screw those Uber guys who do that shit, by the way.
I don't take Uber, so
never taken an Uber in my life.
I've only taken
Uber
Ubers.
Is cheaper than a DUI. Drive smart people.
That's true. That's true.
It is. I prefer Lyft. It's cheaper, but that's me.
Oh, we don't have any Lyft around me. I only have Uber drivers.
No? We just recently got Lyft in this area within the last year, so
I think the one Lyft person we have is driving a tractor, so it's going to be wild for me.
Perfect.
All those acorns getting in their way.
I did.
One time we were driving. Tommy, you're in where are you at? Ohio?
Indiana.
Don't
ever put me in that tractor.
Sorry.
Hey, dickhead, I'm in Ohio.
Yeah, save your trash, recycle, and
go
dump it on in Ohio.
So, hold on.
Find the way to Columbus, Ohio. Okay. Drive east until you smell it. Go south until you step in it.
Wow. Okay. So I was going to say something about Amish people and how my dad almost ran over them, but I feel like we've hit on a different topic.
Wide receivers.
Wide receivers, by the way.
Okay.
This is what you brought me on for.
Off the rails.
Every single week it happens.
Every single week. All right.
This is literally why we have viewers.
For the receivers, you want to talk about the wide receiver room getting tilted on its head this year. Mm-hmm. Robbie Anderson, wide receiver 9. CeeDee Lamb, wide receiver 16. He's really the wide receiver 1 in Dallas, though. Darius Slayton, wide receiver 29. DJ Moore, wide receiver 31. Michael Gallup, 33. Jarvis Landry, 44. and Mecole Hardman 49. Let's start with DJ Moore because a lot of people had him pegged this year in redraft leagues as a top 10 wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Josh, you brought up on our regular show Wednesday nights, no pun intended, that he's on pace for an 1,100-yard season. It doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, because he has
zero touchdowns. I'm saying DJ Moore's allergic to the end zone. And at this point, you're a dinosaur. I would say right now, he's probably a low buy. If you're someone trying to win your league, like you're 3-1, 4-0, or you're 2-2, but you feel confident you're going to win your next couple games, is DJ Moore a target right now?
Oh, even
Absolutely.
if you're not, I feel like he's a target because if it takes him all this year to gel in this offense, that's fine. So
DJ Moore is still a dynasty wide receiver 1.
yeah.
It's on the low end, but he still is that, and you can get him for much cheaper.
I think I heard a stat that he's I don't want to say he leads the league, but he's very high in air yards. So I mean he's hitting the right metrics. He's just not completing the pass, if you will. So
I will never say DJ Moore will be a wide receiver 1 because he doesn't catch enough touchdowns. He's a high-end wide receiver 2 for that reason. Moore can't get in the end until he can show me 6 touchdowns in the season. Like if he scores 6 touchdowns this year, I will see that he'll be a wide receiver 1 at some point. But
DJ Moore has 42.7% of the team's intended air yards.
yeah, I was gonna say it's something insane.
It is a massive percentage.
I feel like Robbie Anderson's got to have another 40% or something on that.
Oh
team.
yeah, he's pretty high up on that list too.
35.4.
Yeah, I mean those two guys are dominating the pass game right now.
Yeah.
And
Jamo's still nowhere to be found.
Jay Postman over on YouTube is saying that he's calling a DJ Moore breakout day this week. I mean, look,
I'm with you.
It should have been last week though.
it should have, but the Falcons are starting practice squad players at this point. Like they're down to a practice squad safety because DeMonte Casey and Keanu Neal have been hurt. I mean, look, if there is any week for DJ Moore to pop, it's this week.
Absolutely.
100%. So if you want to buy DJ Moore, trade for him
Now's
within
the
the
time
next
to do it.
Yeah, trade for him
Absolutely.
within the next 36 hours. Because
Yep,
I'm
I would do
thinking by Sunday, DJ Moore is going to be a little more expensive on Monday morning than he would be right now on Friday evening.
I mean, it was like I did a trade in the offseason in a team that I'm trying to rebuild, and I swapped first-round picks, and I traded away Odell Beckham Jr. to get DJ Moore. I ended up getting DJ Moore in the 102, which ended up being Jonathan Taylor.
Wow.
Like, granted, like after this last week, it doesn't look as good because Odell Beckham Jr. just had his big
Who
blow-up
cares?
week, but I still want DJ Moore in my dynasty leagues.
Yeah, he's definitely, regardless of the situation you're in, DJ Moore's a guy you should be looking to acquire right now because if you're tanking for next year, he's going to be very much better next year.
Not only
There's
that,
a very
the
good
Carolina
chance he's
Panthers,
blowing up. Yep.
the Carolina Panthers very well could end up having a new quarterback next year. If they could tank hard enough to get a new quarterback, you're going to have someone else throwing to him next year because it's all a matter of like exactly how much do they still believe in Teddy Bridgewater? Is he delivering what they want them to do? If no,
I mean, they
then
did
you can
give
see
him a
something
3-year
else.
deal, and the way that it's structured, it's not an easy out after first year. So
Mhm.
there is
But
that.
there is still, it's still that possibility. I mean, it's one of those like
Yeah.
you.
I mean,
you
I
don't know.
definitely
we're
think
taking
they'll draft
talent.
a quarterback. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely
Like,
think
it's
they'll
the
draft
talent.
a quarterback next year. I just don't know when because if I'm not mistaken, the Panthers are 2-2.
Correct.
So
Which is enough to win the division.
Yeah.
at this point. No.
The
Look, it's
NFC
not
East
the
is an absolute
NFC East.
joke.
All right, it's
It's
not,
not
the
the
NFC.
NFC East.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, there will not be a wild card team from the NFC East this year.
No, like that's the thing. Like literally, a 2-2 team would be enough to be the number 1 seed in the NFC East. Like that is ridiculous.
can you imagine that the Seahawks, 49ers, Rams, or Cardinals are going to have to go on the road to play the Cowboys or Eagles? Think about that. They're going to have to go on the road to play one of those games.
Yep.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's
What
absurd.
was
that
it?
shouldn't
Was it
happen.
like 4 or 5 years ago when the NFC West was like the worst division? Like, and it was like
Oh,
an
I remember
8
that. Yeah.
It was like
Eight
it was
and
like
That
a
was
7-9
beast
or
mode.
like an
That's
8-8
when
team
beast
won.
mode was born.
Yeah, it was. We're seeing the exact same thing. Like, you could literally have a division winner have a top 10 pick.
Absurd. Like literally at
Record base wise, yes, they wouldn't actually have a top 10 pick, but yeah.
No, I'm
Hold
saying
on.
record wise.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
At this rate,
At this rate, 5 wins would win that division.
there could
Like,
be
it's bad.
there could be a winner in the NFC East that is 6-10.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
fully
wasn't
believe it.
that bad.
If you're the Eagles,
Really
5-9-1. Like that is a legit possibility.
Yeah.
That could
Lead
happen.
5-10-1, Joe.
Like I'll
Oh, yeah,
never
sorry,
forget the Eagles
thank
for
you.
what I think was the most pathetic
calling
play
the
in
game
NFL
getting
history
canceled.
with that punt.
Oh,
Right?
What do you mean? That's a great play call.
It's
No,
I
it's
just
absolutely
do
stupid.
not understand.
The only
it.
hope the Eagles have is to get Jalen Rager back, and somehow Carson Wentz can learn to throw the ball to him. That's the only hope they have.
Yeah.
I mean, Carson Wentz is going to retire in 2 years. It's going to be the Jalen Hurts show. So
They'd save a lot of money by moving on from him. They'd save
No, they
$63
wouldn't.
million.
They have a dead cap hit of over 70 million.
this year,
Even next year, it's like 60-something million.
no, after next season, it's an out that's about 30 million. I'm not saying 30 million's cheap.
That's still a lot of money.
No, it's a lot of money
It's
to
still
eat.
absurd. It's not Jared
Yeah.
Goff money.
No.
No.
Yeah, the way the Rams structure contracts, oh my God.
Hey, contract cap hits and salary
Salary
caps
cap
don't matter when
doesn't
you have
count for the
liquid
Rams.
cash.
Yeah.
When you have liquid money, it does not matter.
Three
I'm waiting
guys.
for the first team to start spending in Bitcoin. That's what I'm waiting for.
Three guys. Three guys on that Rams roster account for 50% of their salary cap. Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Jared Goff.
Wow.
50% of the cap. They signed Robert Woods, so tack that on. They're going to sign Cooper Kupp, so tack that on. They'll
They
probably
did sign Cooper Kupp.
Oh, sorry. They signed Kupp. Did they sign Woods, or did they sign both of them?
I think they did
just
both.
signed Woods, yeah.
Okay. So they're looking at 5 players taking up 60% of their cap.
Every bit of it.
Bruh, the only person on that team that
Bruh.
deserves
Bruh.
that contract is Aaron Donald, because he's a freak of nature. Oh, so painful for the Rams, but
I'm literally looking up the Rams right now.
thank you. One receiver that I do want to talk about that I think is very interesting.
Oh my God, it's not good.
Yeah, no, it's not good at all. It's terrible. It's terrible.
That's a lot of money on that cap.
Oh,
A lot of money that they can't get out of because it's new money.
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, God.
You'd think they'd learn their lesson with Cooks and Gurley, but apparently not.
No.
Nope.
One guy I want to bring up here on this list. He's at wide receiver 49.
Mhm.
Mecole Hardman is an interesting name in Dynasty because you feel in that Chiefs offense that it's Tyreek Hill and everyone else can just run straight and fast. Like that's the offense. It's Hardman and Demarcus Robinson flanking Tyreek Hill to run fast. And then Travis Kelce is the in-between stuff. Like, that's what that offense feels like.
Don't forget Sammy Watkins.
Well, Sammy Watkins is going to keel over and tear an ACL at any moment now. So,
He's also in the last year of his contract.
Yep.
And technically, so is Robinson. He only re-upped on a 1-year deal.
And they basically begged Watkins to come back this year. Like there was this whole thing where he wasn't going to be there, and then he was, and it was very interesting.
And they
this
brought
season.
Robinson back late.
very
So-
late.
Yeah.
so
But he was a free
this
agent. So.
It's still
This-
not too late for Brian Pringle.
this
That's right.
makes this point even more intriguing. What do you think of Mecole Hardman moving forward, year 3 and on in his NFL career?
Anyone
I feel like,
attached to Patrick Mahomes, I want a piece of.
and I'll give
Even
you
if
that.
he is going to be a little bit of a boomer bust, kind of like with Tyreek Hill, I still want a piece of it.
I feel like he might be the only handcuff wide receiver in the entire league. He does so much the same thing as Tyreek. I just
like
don't
that.
know that there's room for both of them. I would love to see it, but I don't know that that's gonna work. If it was, you would just have a bunch of track stars out there on every team. So I think there's something to that. He's a playable wide receiver 4 with wide receiver 2 upside. Like that's just this year. Next year with Sammy gone, maybe he starts to flirt with wide receiver 3, but as long as Tyreek's healthy, he's great, but man, if Tyreek gets hurt, I think he jumps into wide receiver 1, and that's an asset worth owning.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were drafting him with the expectation that he was going to vault to that wide receiver 2 spot in this offense.
I don't want to bring up like an ugly time, but there was a lot of tumultuous stuff going on with Tyreek Hill at that time too.
Oh, no. But I mean, that was when they drafted me. What I'm getting at is this past offseason, like after.
Okay, so startups.
Okay,
I understand you.
And like in our Ballers and Friends league, like when we drafted that one, I took Hardman in that league, and I'm fairly certain I took him as a top 36 wide receiver because it's like, all right, we know Sammy's going to get hurt. Robinson isn't on the team. Well, Watkins hasn't really missed a game yet.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
And I mean,
they ended up bringing Robinson back, but they kept the same order. It's Hill, Watkins, Robinson, Hardman. And it's like, dude, Hardman outside of Hill is the best talent on that wide receiver core.
100%.
Why are you not getting him the football?
But I think he's a guy who can get for wide receiver 3 price.
Yes. Oh, no,
because
absolutely.
he hasn't been putting up those numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. He is somebody right now that I would absolutely be looking to buy. If just throw out a feeler offer, like, hey, I'll give you a 3rd round pick. Just to see like where that conversation is. Because again, you never know how somebody is going to feel about a player. Because if they have somebody on their team that they're frustrated with because they can't start them, you can get them cheap.
If you listen to No Pun Intended, you listen to anything I say, I hate boomer bust guys. Absolutely hate boomer bust guys. Ryan brings up a good point. If Hill goes down, Mecole Hardman slides right into that role, and at that point, I'm okay with it. If you're a boomer bust guy and you're the second option in your offense, nope, not about that life.
Do we have to put an asterisk, though, by that when it's being thrown to by Patrick Mahomes?
100%.
I think that's the differentiating factor here. Is like we're not looking at like someone who's like a John Brown, you know, like this is coming from Patrick Mahomes, who I think at any point could facilitate 3 different wide receivers who could put up wide receiver 2 numbers at any single week.
Agreed.
And that's why I hate that offense.
I say for folks who are new to Dynasty, that's a big thing to look at is quarterback age, how long that quarterback's locked in there. And Mahomes
forever for Patrick Mahomes.
I was just going to say, Mahomes is the guy who's now an anchor for the next 10 years.
Till death.
And you want pieces of that offense.
Absolutely. Because you're getting stability. That's the biggest thing. You're buying peace of mind.
Yeah, and it's starting to
literally and figuratively put the ring on that finger.
Yeah, and it's starting to seem like
I would have. Give it the Beyonce treatment.
And it's starting to seem though like Eric Bieniemy might be pulling a Josh McDaniels, where Eric Bieniemy might just end up staying there to take over when Andy Reid does.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, anytime you have these coaches that keep going deep into the playoffs, they don't get the opportunity to interview the way that these coaches that are on teams that have early exits or miss the playoffs altogether.
But for Mahomes and the Chiefs, that's a great thing.
I agree, 100%.
So.
The thing with Bieniemy, and I'll say was this: I know everyone brings up the fact that, and you're absolutely right, he is deserving of being a head coach. He has all the intelligence and everything. The issue with Eric Bieniemy is he is terrible at the interview, and I had this from very good sources.
Interesting.
That when he was going in to interview for positions over the offseason, he walked in with an empty notebook and came in to take notes instead of leading the interview. And that's one of the reasons. It's not just his past transgressions, everything else. Like, you can look up his history if you want to on Google and find out his entire backstory. We know how good he is as an offensive coordinator, and teams care about what do you bring the team. Very few offensive coordinators bring more to a team than what Bieniemy does, but he is terrible at winning in the interview, and no one is going to sign a coach who can't convince you that I'm the one that you need to hire.
I agree,
and that's one of the big drawbacks that's holding him back right now. And honestly, it's making the Chiefs even better because of that.
And it plays into the fact that he's already there to where his interview won't necessarily need to be as strong with Kansas City.
Exactly.
He's assuming Andy hangs him up. So,
yeah. And then it just boils down to how long will Andy Reid keep coaching? I mean, he's not a spring chicken by any means. He's been doing this a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he finally has his ring, too. He's checked that box off.
Yep.
So some guys are great coordinators that can't coach.
Josh McDaniels,
perfect example. Some guys can only focus on one side of the football or at one specific position. Jason Garrett, we all know he's a great offensive coordinator. He is a terrible head coach.
Rex Ryan,
unbelievable defensive coordinator.
Yep, coming from Buddy Ryan and everything. He had those 2 years where he went back to back AFC Championship games with Mark Sanchez as your freaking quarterback.
But what
he's much better as a defensive mind.
But what did he do on the defense side of the football? That defense was stacked in those 2 years that he went with Mark Sanchez.
Well, it's to go even further back, Romeo Crennel was so good with the Patriots, and then went next to Browns and was just awful.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, look at every single Patriots coordinator ever that has gotten a head coaching job.
Yeah, Patricia looks
terrible.
he was dead on arrival.
I think we're probably, and I'm going to already backpedal on my Romeo Crennel. I think we're just giving too many people credit for what Bill Belichick does.
It's the same thing. You're looking at the same thing from Bill Belichick to the Nick Saban coaching tree. Like, follow where those coordinators have gone and look at the success that they have.
Yeah, it's not
They're a product of their environment in most cases.
Nothing. It is, I mean, Bill O'Brien could probably be the prime example of what has happened to a Patriots coordinator under Bill Belichick that league.
You think he ends up back up in New England, Joe? That was kind of what I thought would happen.
No.
Bill O'Brien has a better chance of winding back up at Penn State.
Yep, he will go
because the
coach
reason he got
football.
so much notoriety was because he brought them out of the Joe Paterno, Jerry Sandusky era.
Yeah.
But the thing is, though, Franklin is doing just as good of a job as Bill O'Brien did. Not everyone is cut out to be a head coach.
Because it's effing Penn State. People want to play football for Penn State. You don't have to be a genius to coach Penn State.
Absolutely.
You just don't.
You get the talent by recruiting.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying that whoever the guy is that's there is an idiot. Like, obviously, you have to be somewhat you have to be somewhat of a football mind in order to.
He was at Vanderbilt, wasn't he, Tommy? Like, he made Vanderbilt.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, he made Vanderbilt relevant. Like, that's not easy to do.
No, and that's great. So that I didn't know about that, but like something where it's like even in the same conference, Fleck is the coach for Minnesota, correct?
PJ Fleck. I would run through a freaking wall for PJ Fleck.
Look, is Minnesota a football school? Hell no, it's a hockey school.
They are now.
But Tommy, they are now because of Fleck. That's a coach. That's a coach that turned around a program. Bill O'Brien didn't need to turn around Penn State. He just needed to weather the storm until people forgot.
Exactly.
That's what he did.
It's the same thing with Baylor and what happened with Art Briles. Like, the coach there, you have to be able, at that point, can you compete with the state of Texas and get with the leftovers from Texas, what the university doesn't get? And can you weather the storm to get past the allegations?
Yeah, and
once you do that, you are cemented at that point.
But, hold on.
You get the credit for the turnaround.
Yep.
I mean, Matt Rule did do a decent job turning it around.
Absolutely. He also did well at Temple.
Yep.
He did do well at Temple. But you talk about teams in Texas. SMU is the only undefeated team in Texas. Go Ponies. I literally have zero affiliation. Yeah, horns down. Screw UT. Zero affiliation. I just want James Prochet to do well in the NFL. And the buddy, my former coworker who I worked with, my buddy Billy, I edited his MMA podcast. He graduated SMU and he's from the Northeast, so I'm a SMU football fan by default and by association because I also loved Eric Dickerson, and obviously if you know Eric Dickerson played before the death penalty that SMU got back in, what was it, the late 80s, early 90s? Tommy, you know.
I don't want to get too far off the rails here, but how did you love Eric Dickerson, Joe? Was Eric Dickerson playing before your parents were born? Like, that just seems off to me.
So, listen, like...
Eric Dickerson retired before he was conceived.
That's what I'm saying. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Well, actually, same thing for me too.
I know you know football, and I know you know the history of football, but it's just weird to me that you're like, I loved Eric Dickerson. It's like, no, you didn't.
Well, no, and that's the thing, right? I said it, and I'm like, someone's gonna call me out on it because I wasn't alive.
I love watching Eric Dickerson when Ed Sable is narrating his NFL film video.
Oh yes, but I always liked SMU for some
And
reason.
that's you're absolutely fine. It was such a weird thing to come out of your mouth.
No. I mean, you're 100% right. But like when I say I love watching Gale Sayers, people are like, you weren't alive when Gale Sayers was around. I'm like,
doesn't matter.
Yeah. That's what the archives are for, people.
Well, and if you had said it that way, if you had said I loved watching, I wouldn't have said shit. But you were like, I always loved Eric Dickerson. I'm like,
that's fair.
Joe, okay, I'll ask everyone this: who was the very first your favorite player in the NFL?
Bo Jackson,
Emmitt Smith.
Me now, Tommy. You're gonna go.
I'm playing host on this one.
Oh, we're switching the roles.
I asked the damn question.
So I'm not going to say Tom Brady because I actually didn't have a Brady jersey at first. It was Antoine Smith was my first NFL jersey, the running back.
You had said that earlier on the show.
Antoine Smith, baby. I don't know why. I have no clue. I just had an Antoine Smith jersey and I loved it.
Yeah. For me, it was Cordell Stewart.
That's a good one.
He was so far ahead of his time. If you look at the
NFL
my God,
Cordell Stewart would be a god in the NFL right now.
Cordell Stewart is the original running quarterback.
Yep.
He's the original.
I wouldn't say the original.
Randall Cunningham.
Randall Cunningham, yeah.
I actually have a jersey card. I can't even tell you the amount of hours I spend in a card shop. But I have one, and it's half of it is Cordell Stewart jersey. The reverse half is Jerome Bettis jersey card.
Yes.
It's one of my favorite cards I ever have. Cordell Stewart was absolutely one of mine.
When I was at the NFL Flag National Championships in 2013 in New Orleans, we had met Cordell Stewart. We were just walking down the street, and Cordell Stewart was there, and we got to meet him, and he had signed my sweatshirt, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
So he's a super nice guy.
Dude.
Cordell Stewart's awesome.
You want to pay back some college loans? Tommy could buy it from you.
I ain't got that money. I can tell you right now.
I don't think he wants a 13-year-old sweatshirt.
Pays a lot.
But something I want to say this because I tweeted this out on Thursday night. Cordero Patterson is the best kick return in NFL history. Do not at me.
No.
Yes.
Devin Hester. You shut your dirty mouth.
Tommy, kick returner. Not returner. Kick returner. Devin Hester is the best.
I've already had this argument with Joe.
Yeah,
Listen,
we did this.
Joe classifies Devin Hester as a punt returner.
Is he catching a ball that came off of a foot?
Listen, I'm raising my hand. Devin Hester has the most punt return touchdowns of all time. He's the best punt returner. He also has 5 kickoff return touchdowns. If you look at Devin Hester's average yards per kick return, not even close to Cordero Patterson. Cordero Patterson and Gale Sayers are the only 2 all-time to have over 30-plus yards per kick return, and Cordero Patterson is currently tied for second all-time in kick return touchdowns. He has plenty of seasons left to break that, and he only needs 1 to tie first place right now.
Yeah, but now the kickoff rules are going to make that 10 times harder to break.
Josh, he took it out 9 yards deep in the end zone twice last night and almost broke one. Cordero Patterson
almost only counts in horseshoes and grenades, dude.
Listen, Cordero Patterson is the best kick returner of all time. Devin Hester is the best all-around returner of all time. No one touches Cordero Patterson in kick returns. If Gale Sayers had a longer career, Gale Sayers would take the nut. That wouldn't even be close. Cordero Patterson is the best kick returner of all time. And the Bears have been blessed.
I have no stats to validate this, and you've been on the soapbox apparently for a while, and you have all these things
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I have absolutely nothing to say.
Everyone tweeted at me like, no, Devin Hester, what are you talking about? No, idiots, it's not Devin Hester. Trust me, I did the research on this one. And everyone here knows I don't do research.
Dude, I'm old enough to remember when Brian Mitchell was the best kick returner in NFL history.
Yeah. But, I mean, look, the Bears have been blessed to have Gale Sayers, Devin Hester, Cordell Patterson, and hell, they have Ted Ginn returning punts right now, who's still pretty decent at that as well. But one last thing we want to end the show on here that Ryan brought up is he wants to go around the horn here. Where does everybody have CeeDee Lamb in startup drafts for 2021?
Probably too low.
Yeah.
Tommy, I'll start with you.
If I'm looking at CeeDee Lamb at this point, I mean, it's wide receiver. I'm thinking offhand like 16, and that's probably too low. Like he's going to go in like that low end wide receiver 1 at this point.
Josh?
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think he's top 15.
Yeah.
What gets me?
He probably deserves higher than what me and you are
absolutely
willing to pay for him.
does.
I'm so glad I asked this question because you guys said exactly what I wanted.
He deserves to be top 6. If Amari Cooper's not there, he's top 3. Like CeeDee Lamb is that good. But again, the presence of Cooper and how they're using Cooper with Lamb. Like Cooper is that, like he has almost double the targets of the next closest guy on the Cowboys. Yeah. Like he is absolutely dominating the passing game.
Like I think I would take honestly CeeDee Lamb as a low-end wide receiver one in the startup. Like I would take.
I wouldn't have an issue with it at all.
Yeah. I think I'm taking him ahead of Amari Cooper, who was on his team. Like I'm taking him ahead of like Mike Evans. I'm going ahead.
I would absolutely take him
Kenny Galladay.
So you guys, you're putting a number. What you're saying right now is going to play into exactly what I'm about to say. You're putting a number that you're way too low, but your number is way higher than what you think it is. Michael Thomas, Devontae Adams,
no.
Chris Godwin,
no.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins.
No.
Hold on, no. Listen, DeAndre Hopkins,
no.
Calvin Ridley. Those are the only 5 wide receivers I would take over CeeDee Lamb in a startup next year. CeeDee Lamb is my wide receiver 6. You can only name 5 that you would take over CeeDee Lamb.
Okay, yeah, I get it. I don't have an argument at that point.
Honestly. Yeah, I honestly,
that's what I'm saying. You guys actually were saying the same thing.
Yeah, I'm like thinking of all the other guys like DJ Moore, AJ Brown, Kenny Galladay, Allen Robinson. Like I'm thinking of some of these lower guys, and I'm just like.
So I would
much rather have CeeDee Lamb right now.
So when you put that question up, I was going through my show prep and I was like, holy shit, he's the 6 for me. And so I wanted to make sure we got that out there is I can only name 5 guys I would take over CeeDee Lamb as a wide receiver next year.
Yeah, because Dallas has an out with Cooper after 2021.
So
we could be looking at like that 3rd-year breakout for Cooper. If that's like a true breakout, holy crap, we could be looking at peak Julio Jones with him.
Yeah.
This tells me that I need to go. Okay. I'll ask you this point, Ryan. How much would it take to try to acquire CeeDee Lamb right now?
Oh,
and
God.
Is it worth it?
It's worth it.
If he's on my team, I'll be honest. I think he's off hands. I don't know that there's a trade you could offer me outside of like Jonathan Taylor, CEH, and maybe 2 more ones. And I know that's
what we
way
always
too much.
say. Like, you never have a player who is untouchable for the right price. Like everyone is available for the right price, but at a certain point, like
what is the right price? You kind of got to
stick to your guys. Like what is the right price? Like, and we talked about earlier. Okay, how do I value a guy versus how do you value a guy? Like if you're valuing a guy as the top 6 wide receiver right now, the guys in your league most likely aren't on the same wavelength right now.
And they're not going to. Like, if you think about it, you two, I want to give all the props. Josh and Tommy know what they're talking about. And the first number in their head was 16, even though that ended up being not the number. But that's what's in their head. But that's how you feel about him just initially because we think a lot in redraft. Nobody's going to pay me what it takes to get CeeDee Lamb off of me. Yeah. And I get that. I'll be honest. I did not draft him enough anywhere, but that's also because
I have 1 share of him. And it is a league where the benches are literally, we roster 40 guys.
Oh, you were telling us about that league.
Team league. Yeah. It is deep. And I have CeeDee Lamb, I have Michael Gallup, and Cedric Wilson, all from the Cowboys on that team.
All right, I got one for you.
Go ahead.
That league I told you about where I have DJ Moore. Do you go right now, send a trade offer, DJ Moore for CeeDee Lamb straight up?
Yes.
Or do you try to sweeten the deal right now and try to get more and more? They don't think that he has more available.
Yeah, I would offer it now just to see what people think. Absolutely.
Yeah, to see if anyone is low on it. Just you guys have already kind of said it for yourselves. Most people, even though they might love him, are thinking of him as a high-end wide receiver too.
Yeah.
He is likely a middle wide receiver 1 with a tremendous upside. So yes,
I think go trade someone like who is a wide receiver 1 right now. Go trade for CeeDee Lamb and get a pick in return.
Yeah, it's extremely possible.
Damn, I might be doing that when I get off this show.
Literally,
that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm telling you right now. That's why I literally asked.
So, I have DJ Moore in 3 dynasty leagues. Mm-hmm. So I'm now.
And what's crazy, we're talking about trading away a 23-year-old wide receiver who we all think could break out and who is on pace for 1,000 yards. We're saying to trade away for CeeDee Lamb.
Yep, that's nuts. Wow,
everyone,
great, Ryan. Hats off. That was great.
Thank you.
Everyone here knows my stance on CeeDee Lamb. That I think by week 8 he's the wide receiver 1 in that offense. So I've been saying that since they drafted him.
I'm actually surprised, Joe, that you didn't try to trade back a little bit and take CeeDee Lamb at like 105 in our dynasty draft. Listen, I know you landed JT, which you were all aboard Jonathan Taylor, but still.
Josh,
I'm still all JT.
Josh,
Yeah.
let me read you my running backs real quick.
No. I know you.
Let me read them to you so you can understand the pain I'm in. David Johnson, Alexander Madison, and Jerick McKinnon.
Ouch.
I would rather Jonathan Taylor because my receivers going into the year were Devontae Parker, Keenan Allen, and Cortland Sutton with Alan Lazard. Like I was
Keenan Allen's
set.
a wide receiver 1 right now.
Yeah, I was set at receiver. Like I had Renfro on my bench, who again everyone knows I love Hunter Renfro. So I was set at receiver. Like I would have begged for CD. Like if I was at 5, I would have drafted CD Lamb in a heartbeat. I wouldn't even waited. But I'm not gonna pass. I'm not gonna pass up Jonathan Taylor because I think Jonathan Taylor is the 101 as a rookie. No matter what, I think JT has more value because we already talked about it. Running backs have a shelf life. The biggest thing
when it comes to dynasty, it's so team specific when it comes to rookie drafts. Like you might have this guy and you absolutely love him, like we're talking about with CD Lamb. But if your team is stacked a wide receiver and you need a running back, you've got to go for that. And so dynasty is so roster dependent on how you view your rookie drafts.
To piggyback off that, I had the 101 2 years ago, and I took Kyler Murray at the 101. And Josh was surprised by that because he thought I maybe could have traded back and gotten Kyler Murray.
You also had the 108 that draft, too.
I had the 108. Yes, I did have the 108 that draft. But I sat there and said my quarterbacks going into next year would have been Matt Stafford. Like, that was my quarterback going into next year, which Stafford, looked great at the beginning half of last year.
Yeah.
But I knew Kyler was going to be the future of my team. So I'm like, I'm not going to chance trading back. I'm just going to
losing him.
Exactly. I'm just going to take Kyler Murray 101 because I'm confident he's going to be a good fantasy asset down the line. So you're 100% right when it's team dependent. Like if I had a quarterback, I would not have drafted Kyler Murray there. Are you kidding me? 100% would not have done that. So yeah, it is very team dependent when it comes to that. But I am going to try and trade for CD Lamb the moment we get off of here.
Yep.
I already was looking at it while you were talking.
But listen, it's not even for the fact that Ryan brought it up and said it. I just never thought of the fact like, oh, no one's going to give away CD Lamb.
And that's kind of what I'm worried about.
CD Lamb, yeah. I'm like, what? Who would give away CD Lamb in a dynasty league? Like, so just to chime in on the top 6, I think he gets drafted middle of the 5th round next year, and I think that's way too late.
Yeah.
To me, I think he sits in that range of a Keenan Allen, Cortland Sutton did this year. Keenan Allen and Cortland Sutton, like I think a lot of people thought Cortland Sutton had low-end wide receiver 1 upside.
Absolutely.
If not, he was a high-end wide receiver 2. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to think CD Lamb's going to live next year. But we all know CD Lamb, especially without Amari Cooper, if he's not there, is going to outplay those expectations tenfold. So you could stack up 3 straight running backs and get CD Lamb as your wide receiver 2 in the 5th round. I realistically think that could happen. And, come the end of the day, you could sit there with a guy like Cortland Sutton and CD Lamb back to back.
The thing I will say is that this is all reliant on make sure that they bring back Dak Prescott.
Yes.
And that worries me as well. I was thinking about that too. Is this all changes if all of a sudden Andy Dalton's the quarterback? So.
Absolutely.
So just quick before we hop off.
AJ Green didn't lose much steps with Andy Dalton. I mean, we've seen Andy Dalton sustain a wide receiver 1.
Hold on.
But he's not Dak Prescott.
Younger Andy Dalton, but
hold on. There are rumblings because I'm in Dallas and I listen to Cowboys radio because
Wait, rumblings from the team or the radio heads that don't know shit?
Listen, Josh, he's going to tell us all.
Listen.
It's a bedtime story.
These are things that team writers and radio personnel have brought up. Jerry's very intertwined with his media down here, Joshua.
Yeah. Is he still on his yacht?
I have no clue. Maybe. Who knows? They're discussing and bringing up the thought that if Jerry doesn't want to sign Dak long term, he could do a sign and trade with whoever has the first overall pick in the 2021
Good
draft.
God, Trevor Lawrence.
In draft Trevor Lawrence.
Wow.
I'm just saying that has been brought up in Cowboy country, and when you think about it, I'll go around the room and end it on this, because if we want to talk incredible dynasty potential situations, would you rather Dak Prescott on, let's call it a 5-year, $150 million contract. It'll probably be more than that, but let's just call it that right now. Would you rather have Dak Prescott for the next 5 years on an expensive quarterback contract, or would you rather sign and trade him and probably give away a couple more assets, maybe a late-round pick or something, and get Trevor Lawrence on a much cheaper deal for 5 years on a rookie deal, match him with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, and Michael Gallup and Blake Jarwin? Let's assume the offense stays the exact same as it does this year. Josh, what would you rather have?
If I'm running the Cowboys,
If you are Jerry Jones, what would you rather have? Dak Prescott for 5 years or Trevor Lawrence for 5 years? With the exact same offense they have this year, because they're all young and they're all not going anywhere.
I mean, I'd rather have Lawrence because I'm not paying him $30+ million a year.
Okay.
That's easier on my salary cap. And he's going to be the number 1 pick for a reason. He's a good quarterback.
Okay. Ryan?
We've seen these sure things miss. Give me Dak.
Tommy?
I'm so torn because I'm sitting here thinking of when was the last time we saw a team win a Super Bowl with a top 5 paid quarterback in the NFL. I mean,
if you wanna consider Mahomes before he signed his
Wasn't
deal,
top paid, though.
at the
Nah,
time
he
he
was
wasn't
so
top paid.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Is he
I think the
wasn't top paid at
last
the time.
guy was on a long-term contract. Wasn't Aaron Rodgers in 2011?
I think he was still in his rookie deal.
No,
Yeah.
because he was drafted in 2005, I think.
He was drafted in 2007, I'm pretty sure. Double check
If he was
that.
taken
When
in the
did
first
Alex
round, if he was taken in the first round, that would still be under the 5-year.
No,
He
that
was.
wasn't the
He
CBA
was.
back then, I don't think.
he was a first round pick,
Yeah, he was before the whole.
pick
'cause-
26.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Newton, I believe, was the last quarterback on maybe the first one. So
and
it
that
would
was
have been
2011.
Yeah,
I'm
he was
just-
drafted in 2005.
I imagine
Oh,
Manning
wow, okay.
was. I imagine
I think
Manning.
it's
he was
Peyton
drafted in
paid in
05.
16.
It's either Peyton Manning or if Tom Brady was top 5
Yeah,
paid.
Yeah,
Peyton Manning
whether he
on a
was taking
long-term
the-
deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, or what? Because I know Brady. You
But
can't
Tom
say it
Brady's
was
never
last
been
year.
on like an elite QB contract.
Exactly.
And then, but again, he might have been top 5 paid back then. Like he might have been the 5th highest. That's what I'm saying. Is like he might have been up there.
And-
But no, Tommy, you're 100% right. I think Patrick Mahomes is probably gonna debunk this whole thing of you don't need a high.
I completely agree.
I think he's
Yeah.
going to debunk that. I mean, the Chiefs are the team to beat. In the
I don't even
NFL.
call it a debunk though. Mahomes is a once in a generation kind of player.
Agreed.
So.
Yeah.
But the teams that pay,
But they've
20
also built a very good team around him.
Yeah, they knew what they were
Playing his
doing.
strengths. Yeah,
And-
that does not happen with every other team.
I think the one thing you never see. When's the last time a team has won a Super Bowl with a top 5 paid wide receiver?
Oof, that's been a hot minute. Keep in mind, Sammy
Never.
Watkins was making $16 million last year on average. Just saying.
Way to
Just
find me out.
saying.
Wow. I don't think that's top 5, but that is a good little tidbit there.
That's a good point, though.
That is a good point. Freaking
Yeah.
Sammy Watkins. Oh God, I wish I could be mediocre at my job and make $16 million. Ugh. I don't have
Ooh,
a job.
I am running through the Super Bowl winners right now. Like I'm looking at the list. I cannot find you a winner.
Marius Thomas on the Broncos, I believe, was.
I
higher
don't think he
paid.
would have been.
I don't
top
think he was
5
top
at
5.
that point.
I'm telling you, there has not been a Super Bowl winner since.
We're just trying to confirm, Joe.
I'm telling you, there hasn't been one.
No,
since,
but
like,
you've already confirmed my point.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
we're having to search this hard for someone,
Yeah,
statistically, it's not in favor of a team to try to pay a quarterback a top 5 salary while trying to win a Super Bowl.
No, I say wide receiver. I
But
I see
hold
what
on,
you're
even-
saying though.
Even if it's top 5 money for a quarterback, all we can name is Peyton Manning
Yeah.
and maybe Aaron
Which
Rodgers.
is
Maybe
another
Aaron Rodgers.
generation player.
Yeah, I was just gonna say maybe Aaron
We're
Rodgers.
still talking
who's
about
the
first
next
ballot Hall of
generation.
Famers regardless.
Yeah,
Exactly.
But again, you're looking at that's once each decade. Each of the past 2 decades, it's happened once.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're the Cowboys, are you willing to gamble the first half of the 2020s to win a
I'd-
Super Bowl when your
I'd be willing
defense
to
is
bet.
garbage?
I'm going to
Also, don't
research
forget
this
you
for
have
tomorrow.
Ezekiel Elliott locked up, so you can rely on a rushing game.
Yes, that's true.
I'm going to research this for tomorrow. I'd be willing to bet you go back to 95 with Jerry Rice and 96 with Michael Irvin. I bet those were the last ones. Just like skimming this list right now, I bet, and I'll do some digging for tomorrow, but I bet it's those two.
I'd be
That's
curious to
probably
see
it.
this.
So if you're looking at receivers, the last time an NFL team with a top 5 paid wide receiver won the Super Bowl was the last time the Dallas Cowboys won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, 1996. Holy shit.
Think
That's
about
a
that.
really good point.
All the social media memes make fun of Cowboys fans living in the past. Think about that. The last time, hey, you know what? Maybe they pay CeeDee Lamb top 5 money because he's wearing the same number as Michael Irvin. And maybe he'll take him to the Super Bowl. Who knows? But that's everything, ladies and gentlemen. That
What a
wraps up the
show.
first Club
That was
Dynasty
fun.
show.
As we just cross over the 100-minute mark,
Yeah. Screw time.
time is irrelevant.
I'm happy.
That's right.
We had some great interaction over on YouTube, and I'm glad that part of Club Fantasy is growing over on YouTube. Even some interaction over on Twitch as well with Jariz. I don't know how to say your name. I apologize. I'm gonna go with Jair's. You're like Jahir Alexander with a Z at the end of his first
Oh.
name.
Better than I would have done.
Way
Yeah.
cooler.
Yeah, way cooler. 1,000% cooler.
There's a Z.
Yes. A couple things here. So our next episode of Club Dynasty is going to be on November 6th. Do we have a guest, Ryan, Josh?
Yes, Marvin, I believe it's Eloquin, who is the newest writers for the Fantasy Footballers, and he is also with Dynasty Nerds. So
Woo! Awesome. All right, so we'll have him on in about 4 weeks. A reminder, tomorrow is our Start Sit Different Day, 11 a.m. Eastern. Get all your Start Sit questions in there. I will be up bright and early for an esports grand finals in Korea, so I will be up nice and early. Don't forget to check the YouTube channel as well. If you're over on YouTube already, the Speak Easy with Faith. She had interviewed Allison Ederer, someone who's over with the Women's Sports Foundation, the charity and initiative that we did our Women of Fantasy Football drive for. And don't worry, you'll be seeing plenty more of them as well. In Wednesday's show, for no pun intended, we have Samantha Praviti. Okay, Praviti.
Yep.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Praviti. Okay, we have Samantha Praviti from the New York Post, an avid TikTok superstar, according to Wheezy Wheeze the Mustache Man. Follow him on TikTok. Tommy, thanks as always. This is always fun.
Thank you guys for having me.
yeah, Tommy,
That was
seriously killed it, buddy.
Always fun. Always fun. You can check out Tommy as well. Full time now with PFN, correct?
If you're not
Yes,
following
that is correct.
Tommy, follow Tommy
Yes.
immediately.
At Tommy Garrett PFN. You can follow him there. You can follow Josh at the One Hudsonian, Ryan at the Fantasy 5, myself at Joe_Zolo, and you can follow Club Fantasy on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Club Fantasy FFL. The URL is clubfantasyffl.com. Newest writer, Kira, and I'm not going to try to pronounce your last name.
Wyatt Tarowski.
Wyatt Tarowski. Love it.
Woo!
And I still think I pronounced that wrong.
It
So
could
Oh,
be.
I
wanna
thought you
trust on it,
got
though.
confirmation.
Kira Wyatt Tarowski, her first article based off of DFS drops tomorrow. Kira's Cash Grabs. Check that
It's
out on the
amazing.
website. Yes, Club
I like that name.
Fantasy.
I like that.
ClubFantasyFFL.com. You can see all of the graphics tomorrow as well. Stay tuned to our social channels. Always remember, and I'm still going to say it for Club Dynasty because I say it on no pun intended, defense wins championships, offense wins fantasy football. We will see you tomorrow morning for Start Sit Different Day.